talk about you for a sec. This is your first year full-time lead voice of Sunday Night Football. Now, you've been a number one or a crew, whatever you want to call it, before, because you did Monday night for ESPN for a lot of years. Any big differences, little differences between doing Sunday Night Football as the lead guy for NBC and doing Monday Night Football as the lead guy back then for ESPN, or just you calling a game and that's it?
Yeah, no, I'd say little differences. Obviously, your production crew, who you're working with, all of that stuff. The pace of a Sunday compared to a Monday is a little bit different, but I've done
in terms of what, like
Sunday when you're doing Monday night. When we were doing Monday night, we'd get in Saturday, meet with the teams. Then Sunday, you're watching games all day, and you go do a meeting with the team when they arrive, like at 5:00 local time, the road team when they got in town, and then you come back and watch the Sunday night game. So the whole NFL plays out for you all day, right? And then you've got the whole next morning to focus on your game. To do it at the end of the busy, long NFL day, you just want to have a good grasp of what's happened. So if there's a roughing the passer in the Commanders-Giants game, that is a big play that is a deciding play in the game, and then boom, you get a roughing the passer at a key moment in your game, you want to reference that. So you say to the audience, hey, those of you who watched the Washington Giants game, you saw that too. Because you know that people, how do they sample? They sample their game, the 425 game, if it's not their game, and then come to Sunday night. So you want to just have the broad perspective on the league, which is different on the run as opposed to having all Monday morning and watch it all day play out the day before. So that's a little bit different. But like for doing the job, no, 10 years of Monday night, you get in a certain rhythm and routine of your week of doing your prep. I kind of break it up that one day is one team, one day is the other team. So this week, Tuesday was Colts Day and Wednesday is Cowboys Day. And then you start to put all the pieces together on Thursday and you travel and get to Arlington for Friday. So other than just shifting on the calendar one day for that stuff, it's not different. And when you're on the air, whether it's Monday night or Sunday night, whether you're doing Notre Dame on Saturday, it's working with your production team, your partner in the booth, and the game in front of you. So not drastically different, just adjusting to everything. And it's been an easy adjustment because of the time spent at NBC, having done 20 some odd games with Chris. All of that has made it super, super easy.
I don't know if you check Twitter at all, but any difference in response by fans? Do you find it mostly positive? Anything different in terms of your Monday night days? Anything, or just you don't check it, you don't care?
I don't live on it. I'll peek at it from time to time, just as I do for interest in what's going on around the league. Yeah. People have been very positive and very nice, and I appreciate that. I think when Gruden was making smoothies up in the booth with a blender and doing that crazy stuff, it was a little bit different. Yeah. When Chris says something crazy or funny, or we have a laugh there, that gets the attention. And by and large, there's always a few people who aren't happy with you, and that usually directly corresponds with the team that's losing, or you said something about their team that is true, but they don't want to hear it. So that's fine. That's all part of the public square that this has become. But no, I feel like it's been really positive from everybody who I've come across, and the folks in the league too, getting back every week in a building and seeing coaches and owners and GMs. It's been a great reception to be back on a full-time basis.
Were you surprised at all at the reaction that there was when the Collinsworth Slide didn't happen this year?
I know.
People were legitimately upset. This is the things we live for on TV.
I kind of knew because it was a viral thing, right? So it was it was a way to do stuff, and it was simple. You can spend the 3.5 hours with us. I'd rather start the game with Chris and give him truly 10 or 15 more seconds in that little tight window to open up the game. He can expand on a second point, and it was just my comfort of that. But was I surprised? Of course not, because people. But the good thing is, it's always in the bullpen, so at any moment we could bring it out. So if you're not there at 8:12 when our broadcast starts, you might miss a live slide. So be careful. But at some point, somewhere along the way, we'll just test to see the the infrastructure of the internet and see if we can break it by having Chris slide back in for a game. We'll figure that out.
I was kind of glad he stopped doing the slide because I felt like the slide was an Alan Chris thing. Now you guys have to create your own thing. You don't want, I mean, it's like, I listened to Mike and the Mad Dog for 20 years. I don't want them with like a new partner doing the same shit. Like you got to do different things with different partners.
That's exactly right. And it's not that it wasn't good. It's just it fits what we're doing right now. Right. And if there's a week there was a week actually with the hurricane that came through South Florida, or it came through Florida. We were in South Florida, which was spared. Most of the damage was on the west side of the state, but that week we did it. And I opened up the game, just said what happened, why the game was being played, and then Chris slid in. But because it was not fun, it was a serious topic. We didn't make a big deal of the slide is back. So it has happened. For the record, there has been one slide this year. PFF has the slide stats at 1, and Chris graded highly for his slide. He still had it, so that's good.
Excellent. Now you've been doing this a long time. Like I mentioned, you did Monday Night Football. You've done Sunday night over the years, a handful of games. The versatility is off the charts. You've done Olympics, golf, car racing, horse racing, studio. At this point, though, is there anything you want to improve on? Like, do you ever? I don't know if you rewatch a game, but do you feel like, what, I should maybe this needs to? I can't say improve might not be the right word. I mean, but like, what's the evaluation like when you've been doing it for so long?
No, that's a good question. I watch every game back. I watch every game back. There's a perfect game out there somewhere, and at some point I'm going to get it. When I do, I don't know what I'm going to do. If I'm going to have a party or quit or whatever. But you always look. We have 50 different choices to make in a segment of a game. Do I ask the analyst this? Do I point out this part of the play? Do I mention the tackler? Do I not mention the tackler? You never get it right. But when you're doing it, it's really hard to know, how's it coming through the TV? How is the person who's sitting there at 9:45 feeling about what they're hearing? So I try to go back and watch the game. I've been almost perfect on that this year. There's been maybe a quarter I haven't been able to go back and watch when we had 3 games in a row, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday. But I love going back to listen because it helps me communicate with Chris better, helps me communicate with Rob Hyland and Drew Escoff in the truck better. Melissa's doing a story on the sideline. Am I, at that point, asking my spotter, hey, have you seen the left tackle? Did you see him go over to the sideline? That kind of stuff. You want to make sure that you're not missing what's happening. So I love going back to try to listen to those things to make sure that I'm doing the best. We're only there for the audience. We're not there for ourselves. So are you giving the audience the best? So I go back and watch that and try to improve on that every day. And that's the fun. When I think that I've got this down, then I should stop. There's an old Bill Walsh line that Gruden would bring up to us all the time. You get better or you get worse. You never stay the same every day. And what are we doing to put on a better show this Sunday in Dallas, the following Sunday at SoFi? That's the way I'm kind of wired, and I work with a bunch of people who are wired like that as well. So I think it kind of fits pretty well.
I should know this, and I feel bad that I don't. But where do you stand on mentioning in roundabout ways, not directly, when there's a over/under cover point spread? Do you stay away from it completely? I can't recall you doing a little like it was this is important to some people.
Sure. I think I've done it about 6 times this year. I'll tell you why. When I was working at ESPN and ABC, Musburger was doing college football, and I would always have fun figuring out, what Brent's interest was in the game. And I remember talking to him about it, and he said, hey, those are the people who are watching loyally. Those are the folks who are watching when the game's a blowout, right? Yeah. There's something on the line. So always have an awareness of it. And that said a lot to me. That makes a ton of sense because, if there's one thing we need to do, and I've learned from people over the years and try to share with whether it's the students at Syracuse or young people who are coming in, it's know your audience. So who's your audience at that point? And now with betting being legalized in so many ways and being advertised, that's a lot of the audience. It's more than it used to be. Even people have $10 in their FanDuel account, whatever. So I'll do it in that, sly way, not being. Al is certainly the rascal at doing it, which is great. And now that it's out in public, where there's less rascal to it, as he has said. But so we're going to halftime of the Green Bay Philly game. The score's 27-20, and on the toss back to the studio, I say, game already higher scoring than some people thought it would be. And the total was 46.5, and the touchdown got it to 47.
So if you knew.
Right. Go ahead.
I didn't hear you say that because I had the under in that game, and I think at that point I didn't want to hear anything at that point. Yeah, Burkhardt had a good one. Burkhardt had a good one this week. I don't remember what he said, but the Chief-Rams game was coming down to the over/under, and he did it in the roundabout way. I'll tell you, Twitter is mainly bad and horrible, but my God, it used to be so fun when Brent would do a college football game on ESPN, and within 5 minutes, all the tweets were, "Who is Brent on? Who does Brent have tonight?" We would all try to figure out where Brent was on the game. I missed that with Brent not doing the games.
Yeah, same. So you can tell if you don't know, or you probably know my allegiance and love for my alma mater, Syracuse. Yeah. So they're playing at Michigan in the late '90s, and I live in Ann Arbor now. And Musburger's doing the game. And it was a big game. Syracuse is pretty. Matter of fact, Syracuse gave Michigan one of their worst defeats in the Big House. It was a tremendous performance by Donovan McNabb. Started his senior year, beat a good Michigan team coached by one of my favorite people, Lloyd Carr. It was a tremendous game. So Syracuse takes the ball. I think they must have been a 7-point dog or something like that. Syracuse takes the ball and walks down the field. This beautiful 8-play drive, passes, freeze options, runs, all that. Syracuse scores, and Brent going to break says, Syracuse walks it down the field, takes a 7-0 lead. It almost feels like they're up 2 scores, timeout. So Brent's just thinking there, hey, I'm 14-0, 3 minutes into the game, and I am dying. I'm sitting by myself in Connecticut watching. Great. I am dying. It's like as only Brent could.
That's a perfect way to do it.
One of a kind. Yeah.
Perfect way to do it.